So today we are lucky enough to have Pari, Alana, Rania, and Harshi join us. Pari and Alana have started a science journalism club at their high school, with the focus being on neuroscience. And Rania and Harshi are also from the Bay Area, where they are a part of their school's robotics team. So to start it off, can you each tell us a little bit more about yourself?
I can start. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit, so it sounds a little funny. But I'm Alana. I'm going into my senior year at Castilleja, which is an all-girls school in the Bay Area. I'm really passionate about science, like particularly with a focus on medicine. I've always been interested in it, so the Neuro Club is really a good way for me to get involved with that. I'm also leader of my school's STEMX club, and so we do coding, math, medicine, just fun science experiments.
I can also go. My name's Pari. I'm also a senior at Castilleja. I'm really interested in medicine as well, specifically neuroscience. So I really like to attend a neuroscience journal club that Alana and I are part of. Some other things I'm interested in is like things like psychology. And I also like to do different programs during the summer. Like last summer, Alana and I did a cardiothoracic internship, which allowed me to learn more about a specific field in science.
So I can go now. So my name is Rania. I'm from the Bay. I'm going to be a senior at Monte Vista this year. So I'm on the leadership board for our school's robotics team. So I'm the director of outreach. So I kind of work with a lot of communities and kind of inspire more people to join STEM. And I'm really interested in biomedical engineering. So I love like working with medical devices, genetic engineering, things like that. And in my free time, I like to play sports. So I'm part of the field hockey team, and I also volunteer with a hospital.
I'm Hershey. I'm going to be a junior at Monte Vista High School. I'm also part of our robotics team, Team 115, and I also work with more of the outreach part of stuff. So I connect with a lot of communities. I go and talk to a lot of people. I'm also interested in the med field as well. So I do every time I volunteer at a hospital. I also am doing an internship this summer at Stanford for cardiothoracic surgery. And yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
So what were your favorite subjects in elementary school, middle school, high school?
So I went to Ohlone Elementary School, if you guys know, because I know you guys go to Nixon. It's kind of nearby. And so we had a farm, so we did a lot of farm science. So I learned a lot about like plants, and I thought the biology was super, super fun in elementary school. Middle school, I really liked biology as well, which we did in 7th grade. And then I just went through junior year, and I also really liked biology. So basically all science.
I really liked in elementary school. I went to Korea. I don't think you guys know it's where it is, but basically I like science a lot too. I liked the chemistry, biology portions and stuff. In middle school, I really liked chem and bio too, because that's when we started doing a lot more experiments. So I got really interested in that. And then in high school, actually, I liked bio because we got to dissect a pig in freshman year. So yeah, those are the subjects I liked.
For me, so in elementary school, I like really like science, and then going into middle school, I also like really enjoy like physical science and life science. And then when I got to high school, I really enjoyed like physics and calculus, which I took this year. So I really enjoyed like the mixture of like engineering and then combining bio and engineering, which is like kind of how I found my love for what I want to do in the future. Yeah, so basically science and math.
I think it's pretty similar. I think in elementary school, I loved science, like everybody else said. I also used to really like math. That kind of changed when I went into middle school and high school. But I think in middle school and high school, I continued to really like science, but I also started to really enjoy the different English and history classes. Like, for example, in this year I took A-Push, which I thought was really interesting to be able to take a deeper dive into US history. But I loved biology and being able to do all the different units. Specifically, I really liked ecology.
How did you first start to get interested into STEM? And then, yeah.
I think I can go first. So I'm part of a robotics team at school, but I actually started robotics when I was in fourth grade, and I think that's what put me into more of the engineering path in STEM. And it's FLL, First Lego Robotics League. It's basically where you use Legos to create a robot and you program it. And my sister was actually in a team, and I was like, oh, this is very interesting. I want to do it, but I wasn't at the age limit that you had to be. So when I hit that, I got into that team, and that really showed me how much I like working with like robots and like engineering and building something, but also using science in it as well. Yeah.
Super cool. Whenever I'd go to the doctor, I'd be super interested in like everything around me, and I'd want them to explain it to me. And then my uncle was a biologist, and so when I was little, he used to always take me to his lab. He did plant biology, and I thought that was super, super cool. And so growing up, I kind of just always said, oh, I want to be a scientist. And so I started to try and learn as much as I could. Like you can take online classes, which I just like for fun. I used to take like molecular biology, since that's the area I'm really interested in, kind of the molecular side. So for me, I think it's definitely just like an interest that I just kept finding any way to pursue. Like Pari mentioned, we did a cardiothoracic surgical internship last year, which was super fun. And I learned that I really like that field of medicine. So I think honestly, just like pursuing everything I could and learning as much as I could based on my interest was like how I got super into it.
Mine's pretty similar. I think since elementary school, I always loved our science classes. And at my elementary school, we would have like these science fairs where we got to like show off what we were working on. And I always loved learning about the different projects my peers were working on. And then as we progressed into middle school, we had like Explo, which I loved because I was getting to create your own experiment. And that made me really love science because it was like collaborative, but you also got to kind of think what's going to happen next. And then when I got into high school, I loved all the different, I think there are more opportunities once you get into high school, just like ingrained in your everyday life at school. So I joined the STEM X Club, which Alana now leads, and I thought it was so interesting because I got to not only see like fields of medicine where we got to dissect animals, but we got to do other fields of science that I'd never thought of. And this year that pushed me to take AI, which was a really interesting small class I got to take, and it made me see like there's so many other fields in science that are so interesting and not just medicine.
So, Rania and Harshita, both of you are leaders in the first robotics competition, Team 115, which won the regional championship in 2017. Tell us more about your team.
So I can start. So we were founded in 1997, and we started out with around like 10 people. And now we have almost like 150 members on our team. So just on the team itself, so we have a couple divisions. So we have a mechanical, electrical, software, and operations division. Within mechanical, they kind of focus on like the actual like building and manufacturing aspect of it. Electrical is more like wiring, and software kind of is what you think it is. So it's basically just coding the entire robot from scratch, of course. And on the operations side, we have outreach, finance, and marketing. So on the outreach division, it's kind of like public relations and how we work with our community to make sure that everyone is getting the opportunities that they deserve. Finance, we kind of manage our budget, make sure we don't go over, and in marketing, we make sure our self-image is good and we have a good public relations with everyone around. And I think Harshi can explain a little bit more about what she does on the team.
Yeah, so I work more on the operation side, but I was on the mechanical side my freshman year, so 2 years ago, and that was mainly focusing on designing and building the robot. So there's just a little quick thing about FRC. How it works is you have 6 weeks to build a robot, and you get a team, and like, this is what you need to do. You have 6 weeks to build, test, and like rebuild your robot how many every times you want. And in this 6-week period, we use something called CAD, and CAD is basically how you design your robot. So this is an online program where you can basically build your robot online so that you know how it looks like before you create it. And more of what I've done on the ops side is I started in FLL. That's how I got into STEM. And this year I'm the FLL coordinator, which means like I help create all the teams. We do this really cool partnership with our special needs class at our school. They're called Ohana. So every month we go to the class and we basically just teach them small like science projects. So we've done paper airplanes, we've done like sound, we've done how in water things look different than they do not in like reflection and refraction of light. So that's a little bit what we do. We go to different we like last week we were at a demo, and we do demos at companies, we do demos for our community just to show people what STEM is and what we do for the community. Yeah.
Ari and Elena, what is science journalism and how did you get your club started?
So I can talk a little bit about what science journalism is. So when you want to learn more about science or medicine or whatever field you're in, you do research and you try things out and you do studies. And to do that, you have to usually publish your results. So you'll write out what you did, you'll show your data to the world. That way other people can learn from it, read it, build off it, because the scientific community, a lot of it is just looking at what's already out there and then building off of that. So what we do is we sit around and we read articles and past studies that we think are really interesting, and someone in the club will present on it, or two people will present on it. And if we're unclear on anything, we'll ask the facilitating doctors, like, hey, can you explain this term further, or we don't really understand this. And we'll talk about what could have maybe been done better in the study, some flaws in the study, what was good about the study. And you just learn a lot about like how to test populations, the best way to do studies, what could be wrong with them, what could be left out. And so that's just like a whole side of science that is really, really important. And then Pari, I think, can talk more about how it got started, since she was the main person who really started it.
Oh, sure. So when I was a freshman, I really wanted to work in the lab because that's something I've always wanted to do. But you have to be 16, I think, to work at most labs. So I knew a doctor, so I reached out to him and we kind of discussed like what I was interested in. And I was specifically really interested in neuroscience at that time, but I wasn't sure. And I was like really open to learning about different fields. So he had another student who was working with him at MA. So we basically collaborated and we kind of talked about what's something that high school students would enjoy that we don't really get to do in the classroom. And we came up with this like journal club idea. So on our first meeting, we actually got to go see like actual like medical students having a journal club. And that was really inspiring to be able to see like, okay, we can do that with high school students. So it started out with just Casty and MA because it was like a very small group of us. I brought my friends and then she brought her friends. And then this year it's been really cool because two new doctors took over, and we basically have outreach to a lot more schools. So like Menlo, Sacred Heart, I think we have Notre Dame. And it's been cool to see the club expand, and we've kind of narrowed it down more into neuroscience because before we were doing really papers on cancer and kind of cardiothoracic papers, but this year we focused just on neuroscience. And like Alana said, it's really cool because you don't just talk about medicine, but you really talk about like how do you frame a study, like what are ethical barriers. And that's been really cool for me because I think it kind of in that way combines humanities and STEM.
Why did you guys want to lead and start a STEM club?
Why I wanted to create a STEM club was because I hadn't really ever heard of a journal club for high school students. I didn't even know what it was. So when we kind of came up with this idea for high school students, I thought it would be really interesting, not only to be able to create it, but also kind of, I think when you create a club and lead a club, you get to do different things. Other members have touched on this at the panel, but kind of the logistics, which I'm really interested in, because you get to organize, you get to pick out the journal articles, for example. And I think that gave me a really cool insight into not just, okay, I want to read these and I want to learn about this, but also learn about kind of considering what do other people want and kind of mixing and collaborating, which I think a leadership position really allows you to do. But I think at the same time, it's really cool because you get to learn about not just your interests, but other club members' interests, and it kind of helps you just broaden your own curiosity as well.
So, what have you learned from organizing these activities? One answer from each school.
Well, what I've learned from organizing activities, because a lot of it is lessons, is that what you initially want to do isn't always going to work out. So there's a lot of like problem solving that goes with it. There's a lot of barriers you might not expect. Like we've had to order supplies, and then by the time the meeting comes around, something goes wrong and they're not there. And so you have to completely reshape everything like on the spot. So from organizing it, I think I've just kind of learned like not everything's going to go to plan. Always have a backup plan, and don't worry too much because the people are there to learn and they're not really going to care if it's not completely perfect, if that makes sense.
Okay, so now we have a quick speed round where you can give one-word answers. They're really short. So our first one is for Alana and Harshi. Dogs or cats?
Dogs. Yeah, dogs.
Yeah.
So for Pari and Reina, where in the world would you want to go to?
For me at least, I definitely want to go to Japan. So I really like Asian food in general. That's just somewhere that I've always really wanted to go. Um, I've been to a lot of places in India and I've been to Europe before, but Japan is just something I've never experienced. So I think that would be really cool.
I think Greece for me.
Back to Alana and Harshi. What is your favorite food?
Mac and cheese.
Anything that has chocolate in it.
Yeah.
So for Pari and Rania, what's your favorite book?
I think my favorite book is, I'm not sure if some of you guys have read it, but my favorite book is The Hunger Games. So I read that book when I was in middle school, I think, and I really liked it. I really liked the entire series. So it's a series of multiple, it's like a trilogy, so there's 3 books in it. I really liked it, and I really liked the movies as well. So I think that's my favorite book.
I think my favorite book, I read this series in middle school, but I still really like it. It's called The Selection. I highly recommend. Yeah.
Favorite class?
Biology.
I took APCST this year, which is AP Computer Science Principles. I really like that this year, yeah.
So your favorite animal?
My favorite animal is definitely otters or cats. I really like going to Monterey Bay and seeing the otters, and there's a lot of cats where I live. So a lot of my neighbors have cats, so I really like seeing those.
I'd say dogs.
Okay, so if the students want to ask questions now, anything that we didn't cover or that you want to learn more about, feel free to type it in the chat, or you can unmute your audio and ask it that way. Yeah.
I have a really quick question. Did you guys do any programs when you were smaller, or what am I saying? Small. I mean younger, that helped you get to where you are right now?
I don't know if this necessarily helped me, but when I was probably in elementary school, I did this thing called Zoo Camp at the Palo Alto Junior Museum, and we get to learn all about the animals, learn about the anatomy, feed them, learn how to take care of them. And that was science in a way, because we learned bone structure and things like that, and all that kind of stuff. So I think for me, that was probably super fun. Definitely told me I'm really interested in science just in general. I really want to go into it. So that was probably it for me. Zoo Camp. I did it many years.
I think for me, it was when I joined the science and engineering club in 5th grade. So some of the projects we made were marshmallow bridges, and then rockets out of soda cans. So I think that was just then being a part of STEM was just truly something that I really was interested in. And the club was so small. It was 10 or 15 people. At first I genuinely hated it because it was in the morning on Fridays, and I didn't like waking up. But then I actually started to genuinely enjoy it, and it became one of my I really started to look forward to it throughout the year. And I think yeah, that's definitely what got me interested.
I think for me, also I did robotics, but also at my elementary school, they taught us Scratch. So it would be in the morning, so I would not like waking up in the morning. But besides that, we would just learn Scratch, and I mean, I think that really got me interested in programming, and then also with FLL, it really pushed me into the engineering stands. Yeah.
There's a couple questions in the chat bar. Sorry, Pari.
Oh, that's okay.
What are demographics? Does one of you guys want to explain that?
Like a sector of a population, you look at like a big population, you can look at demographics, so you can look at like gender, things like that. If you looked at like animals, you could look at like color of fur. Just like that's like kind of what I think it means. We did biology, we did an ecology unit, so that had a lot of that. So for me, I think that's the best definition I can give. If anyone,
Do any of you play golf?
I do not play golf.
I don't play golf.
I did a golf camp once and never did it again.
I don't play golf either.
What are some of your hobbies? So one of my hobbies is during the week, I teach swimming to kids in the area. So I kind of like help them learn how to swim, the basic strokes, because I like competitively swam for like 7, 8 years. So I really enjoy that. During the fall, I play field hockey for my team, or for my school, sorry, for my school. We go to a lot of games every week, and yeah, so I like doing those.
I'm one of the captains of our school's dance team. Whenever I dance, I do Indian classical dance, but I also do this is like an ethnic type dance called Ross. So I'm one of the captains, and how it works is like first semester we teach our team how to like the whole routine, and then all of second semester we travel around all around the Bay Area and perform at different high schools and different shows. And usually these shows are like shows for a specific, like all the money goes to a specific organization. I also host one of those shows at our school. So yeah, those are some of the things I do.
You
You go, Pari.
Okay, I fence competitively. It takes up most of my time. I also go to a local school called Beechwood, and we basically, me and one of my friends, we basically create different activities for the kids to do. So one time we made 3D drawings, and they got to look at it with their 3D glasses. We've made ice cream before with like dry ice, and that's really fun.
For me, in sophomore year, I coached cross country, which was super fun. I wasn't able to do it this year, but I'm going to do it again next year. So I coach middle school cross country, which is super, super fun for me. So I just like spending time with kids and, like teaching them how to run, even though I'm not the best runner. I did track, but I quit. Trying to think, I surf sometimes. That's really fun for me. Because it's like a nice break from like anything else. You just kind of go out and it's really fun.
Okay, so if there's no more questions, if each panelist would like to share one key takeaway to give to students, and then we'll wrap it up. So for me, at least, I think one of the biggest takeaways that I have is don't be afraid to pursue what you like. A lot of times I was afraid to like go into a certain club just because like it was all guys, like I didn't know what to do, or like I had no idea what was actually going on. Just don't be afraid to do what you like, and yeah.
I think for me, it's always ask questions, because don't be afraid to ask questions, because if you keep on asking in something that you're interested in, even if people are not like how Rania said, if there's a club that's all guys, even if people are like stopping you, if you keep on asking questions in what you're interested in, you'll get what you're looking for, and you'll be able to do something in a field that you like. So don't be afraid to ask.
Okay, I'll go. So I think for me, the biggest thing, what everyone said already is good. For me, I think probably don't think your idea is too big, because I know there's been a lot of things where I'm like, oh, it'd be really cool if I could do this, but like, I don't have the supplies, I don't have I just didn't think it would be possible. And just like, if you have an idea, go find someone that could maybe help you. Go find a science teacher and say, I'm really interested in doing this. Can you please help me? And they'll probably say yes. They'll say, we can't do that, but we can do this. So just like, don't be afraid to go ask for what you want, and don't tell yourself that your idea isn't possible, because you're probably going to be able to do it. So
I think mine is pretty similar, but another thing I would add is try new things. I think when I first came into high school or even middle school, I felt like I had to know like exactly what I wanted to do. Like for example, science, and I could only do things that were related to science. But I think you really realize that it doesn't even matter. Like, if you don't try different things, you won't really realize what you really, really want to do. Because if you only ever explore, for example, math, then you won't ever know, like, do I like English or history? So I think when you go into middle school, I know a lot of you are going into middle school or high school, whatever it may be. Like, I think just trying different electives, different classes that you might not usually take, or different clubs. Like, I know every school has different clubs ingrained. So if you usually gravitate towards science, maybe try like an English club. And I think that's really helped me throughout high school, because you don't have to know what you want to do in ninth grade. I really thought, I was like, wow, I feel like at 14 I have to know what I want to do, but that's not true at all. And I think trying all the different opportunities your school or your community offers will be a lot more enriching.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much for talking with us today, you guys.